Of Jared Orchen, and today we're going to learn the Haftorah of Parshat Beshalach. It's to be found on page 1404. The Haftorah is from the book of Judges. It's the story about a prophetess, Deborah, Deborah Neviah. Prophetess Deborah. How many women prophets are in the Jewish people? In the history of the Jewish people? Seven. Who are the seven?
Miriam,
Huldah.
Sarah.
Miriam, Huldah, two.
Who was the second one?
Sarah, three.
That's one I always forget, so I threw it in.
Huldah. She was later. Esther. Four.
Rebecca.
It's not Rebecca. That's the interesting thing.
Hannah. I think Hannah. We didn't say Deborah. Deborah, six. And Abigail, I think.
Zipporah?
Abigail. Okay, but from all the women prophetess, Miriam was mainly a prophet of the women. You understand? She led the women in the song. We're going to learn next week the song. That's why that's the Haftorah of Parshas Beshalach. It's about the song of the sea. And Miriam led the women. Also, Huldah was a prophetess of women, mainly. Deborah was a unique story, only time in the Bible, with the leader of the whole Jewish people is a woman. And she's a prophetess. It's something that didn't happen before, and to this style, control and everything, I don't think it happened ever later. And she was living in the time. When is the time? Around Shamgar and
200 years after
Yeshua. After Yeshua, maybe even less a little.
Okay.
And it was a time that was the king of Canaan, Javin. How do you say it in English?
B or V?
Javin.
Yeah.
Javin, the king of Canaan, was controlling the Jews, and he made the Jews suffer for 21 years. He had 900 chariots. Just to compare, when Pharaoh was running after the Jews and they left Egypt,
600.
He had 600 chariots. Here, Javin had 900 chariots. The Jews didn't even dare to start up with them. And for 20 years, not only he controlled the Jews, he put them down. He was like a Goliath type of thing. Let's see, who dares to start up with us? To a point that the roads, people were afraid to travel to the roads because they will be attacked. At that time, it was before it was a kingdom in Israel. It was only tribes. The tribes were scattered around. Every tribe cared only for themselves. Was no federal government. It was every state was on its own, and nobody cared. And the Jews were like, "What should we do? We can go on the stone. We'll move. We'll survive." That was the attitude. Nobody stood up. 20 years it was going on. Why it happened? Because the Jews started to learn from the idol worshipping of the people in the land. They learned from the Canaanites, from this king who was there, learn from their culture. That you learn from their culture, you lose your spirit. You lose your spirit, you're afraid to fight. And it's a cycle that doesn't end. And that's why God did it. God put them in the hand of Javin, because they were drifting away from God. Throughout the whole time of the Judges, the story almost repeats itself. The Jews didn't do the right thing. They got in trouble. They cried to God. Hashem sent a prophet or a judge. The judge saved them. It was a war, miracles, everything was good. And the land was quiet for 20 years or for 4 years. And then again. They say it's almost like you can almost hide the script. And they were good, and Hashem helped them. Then they started to drift away, things got good, they got comfortable, And things got worse and worse and worse and worse until they cried out to God. God came to the rescue and helped them. Now, this is also a time, you see, which prophets you know from this period? No prophets. The last prophet you heard is Joshua. The next prophet is Samuel, right? The only between is Deborah, Deborah. There are times that there is no, what is prophecy? A revelation of God communicating with people. That was a time that was no communication. The Jews were kind of a little bit disconnected with that. It goes together with the temple. They built the temple in Shiloh. You hear about Joshua in the temple, Shiloh. The second time you hear about the temple is a story with Hannah, with Eli, with Samuel, right? You don't hear anything about the temple in between. It goes together. And the Jews are not connected to the temple. There is no prophecy. It's a cycle. The Jews were in a law at the time. That's for sure. And therefore they didn't have prophets. They didn't have anything. Then comes this woman, Deborah. She becomes a prophet and a judge. She's a judge because she's a prophet. Because she speaks in the name of God, people come to ask you, well, what do you think? Tell us, help us, guide us. According to the Medrash, her husband was Barak, as you're going to learn in a minute. And he was a judge too. They were both of them judges. But she was a prophetess. He wasn't. He was connected to God, but he wasn't a prophet. He was much lower than her. She was the star of the show. That's a feminist story, this whole story. A true feminist story.
I like it.
Oh, sure, here you go. Okay, let's read a little bit and we'll see where we're going with this. Deborah?
Deborah, a prophetess, a woman of fiery enthusiasm, judged Israel at that time.
Okay. It's written like this in Hebrew. Deborah, Isha Neviah, she was a woman prophetess. Eshet Lapidot. Eshet Lapidot is translated here, a fiery woman, enthusiastic woman. Eshet Lapidot could also mean the wife of Lapidos, a man with the name Lapidot. What is Lapid?
Torches.
Torch. Very good. Torches. What is the husband's name? Lapidot or Barak? But I must tell you, Barak, what is Barak means in Hebrew? Light. Light and torches is not so far, right? Mm-hmm. The same name, basically the same name. Why is she called the wife of Lapidot? She told them, she sent them to the temple in Shiloh, and she told them, I want you to, she told them to make torches, and to take it to the temple, should be light in the temple. She cared for the temple. And because he cared for the temple, and she cared for the temple, they got prophecy. That means at that time, nobody cared. But she didn't care just for the temple. She cared for the Jewish people.
When she's called a judge, is she a tribal leader as well as a prophetess, as well as a judicial authority?
I'll tell you, I think the power came from being a prophet. From this came the being a judge and the being a leader. It all came from power of God. You understand? It's not like people appointed her as a leader and then she became a prophet. It started the other way. She was a prophetess. And from this, if you're a prophet, you speak in the name of God. No matter who you are, people go to hear you.
And did she unite all the Jews together then?
She united to a point, yes.
All the tribes, because there are only several tribes.
Oh, that she gives it to them later. That not all the tribes participated in the war, as you're going to see later. But she was a prophetess. She united. If she united everybody, I don't know. But she was for sure the highest authority at that time.
But the other judges, like Samson, I mean, to what extent do they command? Do they have authority? I mean, they're not kings. They're not.
They were not kings. It was more a spiritual authority of a Rebbe. The Rebbe did not have a physical authority. Didn't have a police. Didn't have an army. Didn't have law. It's people. As to a spiritual leader, authority means that people want to listen to him. They beg to hear what he has to tell them. It's a whole different kind of authority. It's authority that comes from an inside, from not from power, but from godliness. People want to be closer to God, that they're closer to the person who is closer to God. Therefore they listen to him. That's what it is. It's a stronger authority to a point. It's not authority that goes by force. She judged Israel at that time. She would sit. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
She would sit under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Beshalach in Mount Ephraim. The people of Israel would come up to her for a judgment.
Then she was sitting in, she had a place next to Tomer Dvorah under the palm tree, and everybody knew where she is, and they all came to hear what she has to offer. Everybody came to ask her advice. They just came to, Rabbi Dvorah, what do you say? The word Dvorah comes from the word Dibur, Dvarim. Speaking. A prophet speaks. That's the name Dvorah represents.
Assuming that everything is important, other than a reference maybe to Miami Beach, why palm tree?
Why palm tree? Then there is two explanations in the Talmud about it, talking about it. Number one, that she didn't sit in a house because in a private home you cannot be alone with a woman, with a woman who is not your wife, basically. Then therefore she was sitting outside, that nobody should have any problems. Number two, they say just as the palm tree is, I think it's one that there's no branches or something, or it's one strong
Stalk, and then stuff up.
Exactly the same thing. The Jewish people at that time, the heart was connected to God, straight to God. As she brought them back to God, so to speak. But the Talmud brings two explanations for Tomer Dvorah. Every word there is that, so don't worry. I just didn't want to confuse everybody. Okay. She sent
and called Barak, the son of Avinoam, from Kadesh, Naphtali.
She said to, if it's her husband, what means she called him? Maybe after she became a prophet, they already she separated as a holiness. Therefore she called them to come to speak. She has a message to them. She called them. She didn't go to him. She called them, come, I have a message for you. I need you here. You come here. Because she was higher than them. She was prophecy on a higher level than them.
And said to him, has not Hashem, Almighty Hashem of Israel, commanded, saying, go and gather your men to Mount Tabor, and take with you 10,000 men of the sons of Naphtali and the sons of Zvulun?
Did not Hashem commanded you? When exactly Hashem commanded? Hashem commanded us in the Torah that when we see enemies of the Jews are fighting, we have to put them into place. No, not only this. Here it was more. It was one of the 7 nations that the Jewish people were supposed to chase out of the land. And they started to do, the Canaanites, they made it so as to the Jews. That was a commandment in the Torah to take care of it. It says, didn't Hashem commanded you to go to war? And she tells them, what should you do? Go and take with you 10,000, gather your men. In the Hebrew, lech umashachta. Mashachta means pull them with words, encourage them to come. They should go to Mount Tabor. Anybody who was in Israel knows where Mount Tabor is. It's a big mountain in the north of Israel, a very big mountain, a very famous mountain. Mount Tabor, go take 10,000 men to Mount Tabor. Now, remember, Sisera, the name of the general, the commander-in-chief in the army of Javin, the name was Sisera. He was the guy that everybody was afraid of him. He has 900 chariots. What do you think? Take 10,000 people. What are they? They're farmers. They're regular people. They don't know. They're not soldiers. There is no army. There is no nothing. Then people were afraid to go. He had to go and take and pull the people, encourage them to go to Mount Tabor. 10,000 people. It's interesting. It's in 10. In Judaism, everything is in 10. 10 Jews. 10, but it's also again 10,000. And go ahead. I will do Number 7.
I will draw Sisera to you by planting the idea to go to the river Kishon in the heart of Sisera, the captain of Yavin's army, with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into your
You
hand.
read. Here is the interesting thing. It's just like the story with Pharaoh. God says, Deborah says, in the name of God, I will plant in the heart of Sisera. When he will hear that 10,000 Jewish men are coming to fight him, he will go out with his whole army, with everybody to the Kishon River, right?
Yeah.
To the river Kishon, and he will come out with his chariot, and then there I'll deliver him into your hand. She didn't say exactly what will happen. She just told him, go. Here comes a very strange reaction from Barak.
Barak said to her, if you go with me, then I'll go, but if you not go with me, then I will not go.
If you will go with me, I will go. The man, the big man, the macho, tells the woman, you go with me, I'm
without
going.
her.
If I'm not, I'm not going. Why she said it? Why he said it?
She
Because
said,
he knew that she has prophecy. She's the righteous woman. He says, Anir merit. God will protect us. On my own, who knows? That he was Moichel covered. He forgave his own covered, that it doesn't look good. And he said, if you go with me, I'm going. By myself, I'm not going.
Isn't this kind of a variation on the Gideon account too? I mean, Gideon went with 300 soldiers, here are 10,000, but it's a small group which, by all designs, should fail.
Oh, yeah.
But for God's help.
You're right. Oh, yes, absolutely. 300 men is even less. But even this 10,000, they had this huge, strong army. There was no chance for them to win this fight. She said, number 9.
she said, I'll surely go with you. However, the journey that you take will not be your honor, as God will deliver Sisera by the hand of a woman. Deborah got going and went with Barak to Kadesh.
Okay, she told them like this. Yeah, if I will go with you, I will go with you. But then you will not get the credit for winning the war. It'll be the winning of the war will be named after a woman. As we see later, it has more than one meaning. Because Sisera was killed by another woman, by Yael. Then it also refers to God will deliver Sisera. That's what she said now. God will deliver Sisera by the end of the woman. Doesn't mean by her end, by the end of another woman.
It's interesting because he really wasn't, she called him, he wasn't looking for this honor, and she could have said, and I'll go with you from the beginning, this kind of stuff.
No, she sent him to war. She didn't feel that a woman has to go to war. But he said, I'm not going without you.
I surely would go with you, so...
If I have no choice, I'll go with you. That's what she's basically saying. But he didn't want to go. Not only didn't want, the whole nation was doing nothing for 20 years. Didn't want to fight. She had to wake them up. She had to push them. Number 10. You want to continue?
Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh and went up with 10,000 men at his feet. Deborah went up with him.
Okay, Barak went and he gathered from 2 tribes, Zvulun and Naphtali. Why these 2 tribes? They suffered from Sisera.
Yeah.
That's why they came. The rest of the Jews said, it's not my problem. As usual. Then he gathered them, he trained them a little bit in Kadesh Naphtali, and then he went up to Mount Avon.
I just have a question. It says
Yeah.
10,000 men, and the tribes Zebulun and Naphtali had, I think, more than
Many more.
men
Yeah.
of that age to go to war.
Not necessarily, but let's say, you think did they send anybody home? I don't think so.
No, why didn't they send all of them?
And that's all came.
She asked for 10,000.
She asked for 10,000, then he gathered 10,000, maybe at 10,300, but the point is, they were from other tribes later also joined the war. That's what we learn from later from the story, from the poetry that comes after the story, from the Shira. Okay, number 11.
Favor the Canaanite, who was from the descendants of Chovav, the father-in-law of Moshe,
Israel.
Israel had separated himself from the Kenites and pitched his tent near the plains of Sa'anim, which is by Kadesh.
This like falls in the middle, like almost in the middle of nowhere, but later we'll understand why. The people, basically the descendants of Jethro, were living there. They were like Switzerland. They're not fighting with the Jews. They're not fighting with Sisera. They're good with everybody. That was the people of the people of the descendants of Jethro. They told Sisera, continue.
They told Sisera that Barak, the son of Avinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor to wage war.
They reported, and the good people who are not fighting with anybody reported Sisera that Barak is coming to war at Mount Tabor. Okay.
Sisera gathered together all his chariots, 900 chariots of iron, and all the people who were with him, from Haroshes Hagoyim to the river of Kishon.
Of Kishon. Where is it exactly? I'm not so good in geography of Israel, but it's right there in the north somewhere. It says Sisera gathered his all 900, he went out with his whole army, full force, and all his people, and all his chariots, to come to attack the Jews. But he didn't go up on Mount Tabor, because on Mount Tabor, go with the chariot, he will lose the war. He was waiting for the Jews in the bottom. He said, they'll come to me. We'll chop them up. I mean, he was very, very strong. The Medrash says it was unbelievably strong. Iron chariots. But anybody who fell into his hand didn't come out alive. Okay, continue.
Deborah said to Barak, "Arise, do not hesitate, for this is the day destined for victory. This is the day in which God has delivered Sisera into your hand. Has not God gone out before you?"
Wow. He tells them like this, Kum! Atomer Dvorah told the Barak, Kum! Rise, stand up! She had to push him. That's already after they went and already gathered all the Jews and all the 10,000 years. He was still not ready to go to war. She had to tell him, get up, today is the day that Hashem gives Sisera in your hand. God came out before you. That Barak went down from Mount Tabor. So Barak went down Mount Tabor. You go ahead.
Mount Tabor with 10,000 men after him. God confounded Sisera, all his chariots and all his army to be killed with the edge of the sword before Barak. Sisera went down from his chariot and fled on foot.
What happened?
I don't understand.
They sunk.
You don't understand?
They were all.
God confounded.
They were already up on the mountain. The 10,000 people.
The 10,000 people came down from Mount Tabor to attack Sisera.
You mean it was like a plan?
Yeah. But Hashem did something else. What Hashem did? We read it from the no.
It's like the splitting of the seas.
It was the water of the Kishon overflow. It rained, and the whole thing. The old chariot got stuck in the mud, and it turned into hot, and it melted, and it was a total disaster. And the Jews they started to flee without the animals. Without the horses got stuck in the mud. The same thing like the splitting of the sea. The same idea, basically. And the soldiers run away, the Jews are running after them, beating them up and killing them. Then actually, there was no war. Before the 10,000 Jews made it even, it was the rain and the river overflowed and they were all swamped. I mean, it was in a summer day, and nobody was expecting such a thing. Obviously, in the winter, he wouldn't go to the mud to get himself stuck with the heavy, not metal, iron chariots that were, and we couldn't move them, barely move them. And the horses, everything got stuck, and the people got stuck, and even the people run away. The Jews run after them. They say, some historians want to say, that once in a while, once in 10, 15 years, there is such a, in the early summer between Pesach and Shavuos, there is such a storm. You know, how they're trying to excuse every miracle that it just happened. And, you know, if a miracle, if Moses can bring the people to the sea, and it just happened at that moment, the sea split it, that's a miracle enough. In a sense, doesn't make a difference how exactly it happened. Even to make the timing so perfect, that's the hand of God. Doesn't make a difference how it was exactly. In any case, it was a huge miracle, and a huge army of 900 chariots, that everybody in the Middle East was afraid of him. And Sisera was a Goliath type of guy, a huge, strong guy. He was probably, the Medrash I think says he was 30 years old. Everybody was afraid of Sisera. Everyone. And here he was completely lost. What happened to Sisera? We read in number 16, first of all, go ahead.
Barak pursued the chariots and the army to Harosh's Hagoyim. All the army of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left.
Not a man left. Fell upon the edge of the sword could also mean that they fell on their own edge of the sword. They just got in trouble. Got himself in trouble. Continue. 17.
Sisera fled on foot to the tent of Yael, the wife of Hever the Kenite, but there was peace between Yavin and the king of Hatzor and the house of Hever the Kenite.
Okay, Sisera, what is Sisera doing? He's not stupid. He runs away. He knows he cannot run too far because they'll catch him. That he goes to the Canaanites, and the grandchildren of Jethro that we spoke before about, to Switzerland. He runs to this little Switzerland. Says there is peace between us and them. They will protect me. They will hide me somewhere until we'll see what's going to be.
The name Yael here is it? Seems like a Jewish name. Two names of God.
Yael with the Ayin is not the name of God. No.
Oh, just the Aleph. Just the English sounds.
Yeah. Yael with the Ayin. That's the name. I think that's from there. The name Yael in the Jewish people comes from here. Mm-hmm. That's the first place. Then he ran away to her tent, to her place. Okay, Yael went out.
Yael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Turn in, my lord, turn in to me, fear not." When he had turned into the tent, she covered him with a mantle.
Oh, he came into the house. She told him, "Come to me, I'll take care of you, I'll protect you." He said to her, go ahead.
He said to her, "Give me, I beg you, a little water to drink, for I'm thirsty." She opened a skein of milk and gave him a drink and covered him. He said,
"Why she gave him milk?" He was tired, and milk makes you sleepy. That he will take a good nap. Milk does make you sleepy. It's not scientifically proven.
He said to her, "Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead."
He said to her, "Stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be, when any man comes and inquires of you, and says, 'Is there any man here?' you shall say no." Yael, Heber's wife, took a peg of the tent, and took a hammer in her hand, and went softly to him, and struck the peg into his temples, and fastened it to the ground, for he was fast asleep and weary. So he died.
So he died, really. Yael killed him.
Yeah.
And he was a very strong man. It was a huge risk for Yael to try to do such a thing. Because if in 1 second he wakes up or whatever, he gives him over, or she's not successfully killing him, then she's in big trouble. Then she's dead.
What was her motivation for killing him?
Because she was a righteous woman. She knew that this guy is torturing the Jews and the whole neighborhood there for many years, and you have to get rid of him. And he was hiding, he was finding refuge in her house, in her tent. And then what happened is just the opposite happened. Okay, continue.
Now as Barak pursued Sisera, Yael came out to meet him and said to him, "Come, and I will show you the man whom you seek." When he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the peg was in his temples. On that day Hashem subdued Yavin the king of Canaan.
Sisera was a man that even when we used to scream, animals did move. Wild animals in the field were afraid of him. That's how strong he was. That's what the Medrash says. And she, in a woman, the insult to Sisera was a double insult. Not that he was just killed. He was killed in the hand of a woman. That's what Deborah said in the beginning. She prophesied, but God will deliver Sisera in the hand of a woman. She didn't mean in her hand, in the hand of Yael. Okay.
Is it 21st? 24th?
24.
On that day, God subdued Yavin, the king of Canaan, before the people of Israel.
At that day it was done. The whole power of Yavin, the king of Canaan, was Sisera and his army. There is no Sisera, there is no army, it's finished. Go ahead. The hand of the
hand of the people of Israel prospered and prevailed against Yavin, the king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Yavin, king of Canaan.
Then so far we got the story. Now comes the second part of the Haftorah. It's a long Haftorah. It's the longest Haftorah of the year, I think. The second part of the Haftorah is the song that Deborah was singing. Just like after the splitting of the sea, Moses made the song of the sea. There was a song here. The song, it's a very similar miracle. Also drowning in the water, also Sisera. A lot of similarities in the expressions and the word. Many similarities. Anybody who can read the Hebrew, you can compare many examples. Well, the similarities between these two. Now comes a whole song that Deborah was singing to praise God for the great miracle that God made to the Jewish people. Actually, the Zohar says that no men praise God like two women, Deborah and
Miriam.
Yeah. Hannah.
Hannah called God Tzvaot, king of chariots, of the army, of the tzava, and the king of host. That's what Tzvaot means. King of host. Then the same thing is, they praise God more than all the men put together. That's what the Zohar says. And if anybody tells you Judaism doesn't respect women, they don't know what they're talking about. And here is the perfect example. Think about it. In the Parsha, there is the song of Moses and a little short song of Miriam, right? What would be the writing for the Haftorah? Which song should you choose from the Haftorah? For the Haftorah.
This should be Moshe.
Moshe doesn't. We're talking about prophets. If you have a song of Moses in the Parsha, you need a similar thing in the Haftorah, in the prophets. What should you look for? Which song should you look for? A song of a man.
Yeah.
Which famous song of a man there is beside
Solomon?
Close? David. Actually, when we read the story of the splitting of the sea on the 7th day of Pesach, we read the Haftorah of David. Here we read the Haftorah of even Miriam is just a short piece. Because the main thing, we continue from the Parsha. From the story of Miriam, we continue to the main thing from women. You go even to more of a women connection. Rabbi spoke about that once. And then we to point out how great and important are the Jewish women. That's why the Haftorah is about a woman. Now we'll start to read the song of Deborah.
Then Deborah and Barak, the son of Avina, sang on that day, saying, Praise you, God, for the avenging of Israel, for making it appear that their strength accomplished the victory. For the people willingly offered themselves against overwhelming odds. Hear, O ye kings.
Okay, let's stop right here. Praise you, God. What is she praising God? that people voluntarily were ready to go to war, even though the chances were not good for the Jewish people. Hear, O your king, number 3.
Hear, O your king, give ear, O your princess, I believe in God, and He my portion.
Yeah.
Therefore, I will sing to God because of the salvation He has bought. I will sing praise to God, Almighty God of Israel.
Okay, stop right here. In Hebrew, it goes like this: Shimu Melachim. You know, the translation of this to English is a little. Shimu Melachim, hear kings, listen, princess. Anochi LaHashem, Anochi Ashira. I will sing to God, I will sing and praise the God of Israel. The word Anochi reminds you something?
Ten Commandments.
The Ten Commandments. Anochi. Here it's written twice Anochi. Anochi LaHashem, Anochi Ashira. Twice the word Anochi. In the Ten Commandments that starts with Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am your God. Here comes an amazing story. The Medrash says, when God came to give the Torah at Mount Sinai, other mountains came to complain. They want the Torah should be given on them. What means the mountain came to complain? Obviously a mountain cannot complain. But if the mount would have a mouth, what would he say? Why not me? Like everybody else, everybody in our life says, why me? Why not me? If it's good, we ask, why not me? If it's bad, we ask, why me? Right? The mountains were asking, Tavor and Carmel. 2 mountains came to God, 2 famous mountains. What's it mean?
Big mountains, that's why.
They were bigger than Mount Sinai. That Hashem decided to give it at Mount Sinai for many reasons. Number one, because it was a lower mountain. God wanted we should be on a mountain, but we should be humble. Proud, but humble. Number 2, God wanted to give it in the desert. Nobody should claim it's my part. The land of Israel was divided to 12 tribes. If it be in Mount Tavor, the people from Naphtali will come and say, oh, the Torah belongs to us. Be Mount Carmel, somebody else will come and say, God says, give it in the desert, the Torah belongs to everyone. But, the Medrash says, God rewarded the other mountains that big miracles should take place on them. And as it was said, Anochi, on Mount Sinai, it was said on Mount Tavor was said twice, Anochi. Not once, twice. Anochi LaHashem, I am to God, Anochi Asher, I will sing. On Mount Carmel, what was an event on Mount Carmel? God rewarded Mount Carmel with their own event. Elijah built the altar, and he proved all the Baal that they are wrong. And Elijah at Mount Carmel, right? What the Jewish people announced at Mount Carmel? What is the famous announcement that we say it at Yom Kippur by Ne'ilah? 7 times.
7, the last one?
Who remembers, yeah?
The last one.
Hashem hu Elokim, right? Hashem is God. Then in Mount Sinai it was Anochi Hashem. The word Anochi was given at Mount Tavor. The word Hashem hu Elokim, twice Hashem, like here twice Anochi, there is twice Hashem, was at Mount Carmel. God took the Anochi Hashem, if you want, and divided it in half. He gave one Anochi, he gave to Mount Tavor, and Hashem he gave to Mount Carmel. That means to say that in one sense, Mount Carmel and Mount Tavor were a part of Jewish history, just as Mount Sinai. God gave the Torah, not just gave the Torah on Mount Sinai. We don't even know where Mount Sinai is now, right? Some people think they know, but you don't know. But Mount Tavor and Mount Carmel, we do know. Mount Tavor and Mount Carmel became a part of the Jewish history. That's what the Medrash wants to point out. And in a way that great miracles took place on these mountains. On Mount Tavor was this miracle of the splitting of the killing of the victory over Sisera, and Mount Carmel was the famous victory over idol worshipping. Then that Elijah brought down a fire from heaven and proved that he speaks in the name of God.
I just have I saw this where it says, "Praise you, God." That was one of the first things she said. And later on, there was the king who had a similar miracle when the army came down.
Hezekiah.
And he didn't.
He didn't praise God enough. Yes.
So right
Yes,
here,
yes. Good thinking. Yes.
By praising this mountain twice, it means another miracle is awaiting on that mountain?
No, it just means that to a point there is something more special than Mount Sinai. And it's a double thing.
It's a payback.
Exactly, it's a payback. That's the word.
Uh-huh.
You missed out there, or to pay you. Don't worry. You know, there is a Jewish saying, "Der Eibishter bleibt nicht kein Balchoif." God doesn't left owing anything to anyone. You do a mitzvah, God will pay you back. Today, tomorrow, in 10 years, in 20 years, God will pay back.
That's the whole.
There's a payback day. And it's very true, and all of us see it many times in many places. Remember when my grandfather once married off one of his children, that another rabbi stood there and he spoke about the day of payment. Now it's a payday. Because he was in Russia and suffered from communism, and he risked his life, and he didn't send his kids to school on Shabbos. And in Russia, not to send the kids to school, you can go to jail, and it was big trouble. But he did it. And later Hashem paid him off.
We see that also with Hanukkah, where
You're right. Hanukkah, very good. That Hashem, the day, the 25th of Kislev was a day that the temple, the Mishkan, the sanctuary, the portable Mishkan was ready. And God pushed it off to Pesach, to Nisan, to the beginning of the month of Nisan, to inauguration. Later Hashem paid off the day. It's a whole story in itself, but we're not going to it. Okay, number 4.
God, when the Jewish people passed Mount Seir on the way to Israel, God warred against Sihon and Og. When you marched out of the field of Edom, all nations of the world trembled in fear. The angels representing the nations of the world sweated in fear. The clouds also dropped water to frighten the enemy nations with the tremendous downpour. The mountains perspired from fear of God, just as Sinai feared God, Almighty God of Israel.
She kind of recalls, it's all discussion what she told, but basically she recalls Mount Sinai event. She says, just like in Mount Sinai, the whole world was the shaking, the mountains were shaking, everybody was afraid of the voice of God. That this is like the introduction to what happened in this miracle. That's what she's trying to say. Now she starts to speak about our miracle. However,
in the days of Shamgar, the son of Anas, in the days of Yael, the main roads ceased, and travelers walked through crooked back roads to shake off the enemy who stopped fearing the Jews.
Okay, here she goes back to her days. The days of Shamgar, who was another judge. In the days of Yael, people stopped to walk on the streets and the main roads. They were afraid of the enemies. They went around and about, in roundabout ways, because they were afraid to be attacked. Okay, number 7.
The inhabitants of the unprotected villages ceased, and they ceased only in Israel, until I, Deborah, rose, a mother in Israel.
The inhabitants of what he says, of unprotected cities, villages, didn't exist anymore. The Jews used to sit in unprotected cities, live normal life. Now everything needs to have walls, like in many cities in the world today. Every Jewish institution, you need walls and bigger walls and bigger walls. That was at the same time. Until I, Deborah, arose, continue. I'm sorry, you read it, no? A mother in Israel. עד שקמתי דבורה, until I rose, she speaks about herself, until I got up, until I came as a mother of Israel, I came to stop this thing. Go ahead.
For when they chose new gods, then was war in the cities. However,
she explains why it was war in the cities, because they chose new God. That's why. However, was there a shield or a spear seen among 40,000 in Israel in the days of Yeshua? She says, Did we need it in days of Yeshua? We needed a shield or anything? Everything was good. Go ahead. Continue. My heart.
My heart goes out toward the dignitaries of Israel who offered themselves willingly among the people. Bless you, God. Speak, you who ride on white female donkeys, you who sit in judgment, and you who walk on the road. Instead of the sounds of archers in the places of drawing water, now they recite the righteous acts of God, the righteous acts toward his open cities of Israel, when the people of God go back down to the gates.
Okay, what she says is, all of these people who voluntarily came to fight for the Jewish for this war, her heart goes out to them. She speaks about the judges. There is some commentaries that say that it's a compliment. Some people say that she was angry with them. But in any case, she's talking, instead of listening, being afraid of the sound, maybe your enemies come, now you can go back and sit in open cities and not be afraid of anybody. Go back to your gates, means to your cities. Now in number 12, she says,
Awake, awake.
Uri, Uri, Dvorah, Uri, Uri, Dabri Shir. Remember, when we say Uri, 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 Shir Daberi, when we say it on Friday night service by the Lachadodi. Uri, Uri, awake, awake, Dvorah, awake and sing. Why she needs to be awakened? Then the Talmud says, Dvorah, in the middle of the song, lost her prophecy. What happened? She gave herself too much credit.
She's talking about herself.
She gave herself too much credit.
She gave herself too much credit. She spoke about herself. She said before, until I arose, a mother in Israel. I. And the word I comes in, that's a problem. Even Dvorah. What she did say about herself, she came to Dvorah, she didn't say her own name. In any case, the Talmud says because of that she needed to awake herself. She was calling herself to wake up, to get back her spirit of spirituality, of prophecy back. Awake, awake, Dvorah, awake. Order a song. Go ahead. Arise.
Barak, and lead away your captives, you son of Noam.
She tells them, she repeats what she told them, Kum, arise and go and fight the war. Okay, we are in number 13. Then
the remnant of the Jewish people will have dominion over the mighty Gentile nations. God made me have dominion over the mighty. Yeshua, who came out of the tribe of Ephraim, out of the root, fought against Amalek. After you, a descendant of Benjamin slew a vast multitude of Amalek with your tribes. Noblemen came down to do battle. Leaders came down from Machir. The whole tribe of Zebulun came, even the scribes who draw the pen.
Somehow it gets into her. She's speaking about how Joshua was fighting the Amalekites from the tribe of Ephraim, and in the future Saul will fight Amalekites who is from the tribe of Benjamin. And then she finished the line with Zebulun, the tribe of Zebulun, who came to fight the Jews who were ready to come to join the war. Number 15.
And the scholars of Issachar were with Deborah, despite the fact that they were inexperienced in battle. Issachar also joined Barak's forces. Into the valley they rushed forth, and his feet at the same pace. The fact that Reuven separated himself from his brethren and did not fight, there is much to ponder.
Here comes, first of all she speaks about Issachar. Issachar is known to be the tribe of the scholars. It's a known thing that Issachar and Zebulun made a partnership. Zebulun will be the supporters, will give the money, and Issachar will learn Torah. Half of the merit of the learning Torah will go on the account of the Zebulunites who support them. Then Issachar, the tribe of Issachar, even they were not fighters, they were yeshiva bocher. They still joined the army to go to fight. They were volunteering, if they didn't know what they're doing. But Reuven, where was Reuven? The tribe of Reuven was not there. They were very comfortable. They were sitting by the beach, exactly. They were sitting on the beach doing business, not necessarily laying on the beach, but sitting on the beach. And they were not coming to the war.
They were under the Jordan. What do they want?
You're right. That's exactly. They were on the other side of the Jordan. She was upset. Why they didn't come to help the brothers? We are all Jews. They should be a part of it. That's what she says. See, then first of all, the interesting thing about this song is different than other song is. First of all, she gives herself credit. Moses didn't give himself credit. Number two, she doesn't forget to take care of anybody who didn't and behave. No forgetfulness. When it comes to Advor, she remembers who did and who didn't. The famous line, we forgive but you don't forget.
Like David.
I think that Joshua was supposed to have taken care of all the Canaanites. I mean, obviously we're seeing lots of Canaanites still running around here.
He did not take care of
No,
actually of all the
it
Canaanites.
said somewhere there were some left or something like that.
Yeah, they were
Didn't
left.
they make peace with certain
Some of them,
tribes?
that's
They
what.
were tricked. That's one thing.
That's one group, yeah, the Gibeonites. But they were no, they didn't take care of them. That's a problem. They didn't finish the job, not at all, not even close.
Mhm.
They didn't kill everybody. There was still plenty of people. Not only they didn't kill them, they learned from them. That was the problem. I think they didn't kill. No, but why God says to chase them out, to kill them? Why? What was God afraid of? That they will learn from their bad behavior of idol worshiping, and that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. That what is she reprimanding Reuven? Number 16.
If you are afraid, then, why did you settle across the border of the Jordan, your enemy territory? Did you think that all you would have to do is pasture your sheep and hear the bleating of the flocks? Therefore, for the separation of Reuben, there is much to investigate his true intentions.
We have to investigate to see where is his Reuven heart. What happened to this tribe? Then she continues, it's not done. Number 17. Gilad.
Gilad dwells beyond the Jordan. And why did Dan, who lived much closer to the battlefield, remain by the ships of his merchandise and escaped from his duty to defend?
She says, Mele Gilad, like Meir said before, the tribe of Reuven, they were on the other side of the Jordan. But Dan, the tribe of Dan is much closer. Why you didn't come to fight, to help us during the war? To defend the Jewish people, your own brothers? Then she continues, Asher.
Asher, however, lives at the seashore and correctly remained by its country's exposed points to protect them.
Asher, she's not reprimanding for not coming to fight the war because he was by the edge of by the borders, and if he will leave the borders to go to help his brothers, the enemies will come and attack his cities. That it makes sense why they didn't came to help. Zevulun
is a people who lives in the risk their life to the death, and Naphtali likewise on the high places of the field.
She compliments Zebulun and Naphtali, the two tribes who actually were the first one to go to war and ready to volunteer. The other tribes, number 19.
The other tribes did not come to defend. However, the kings of other nations came to Sisera aid, and that the young kings of Canaan in the Tanakh by the water of Megiddo fought together with Sisera.
She mentions in her song, then the people, there were other kings who joined Sisera, other non-Jewish kings who knew that this war is a matter of who is winning, this side or this side. They joined Sisera for free. They didn't ask for money, didn't ask for anything. They took no gain of silver. Go ahead.
So why didn't Reuven come to help his brethren?
She says, if the other kings who are not blood brothers came to help Sisera in his war against the Jews, why the Jews did not have the same sense of responsibility? That's what she's asking. Why they didn't come to help the brothers? Go ahead.
Sisera's effort was for naught because it was as if they fought from heaven.
Oh. She says Sisera's effort was for nothing. He could bring with all his soldiers, with all his other kings. The stars
in their courses fought against Sisera.
the stars fought against Israel. Go ahead.
The brook of Kishon swept them away, that ancient brook which never overflowed before, the brook Kishon. My soul would march on in strength.
She says the brook of Kishon, who never overflowed before. That's why they went to the water, because they were never even dreaming that the water will overflow. It would be such a rain, the water will overflow and will get them in such trouble. That's why they went there. It says the stars from heaven, God from heaven was fighting for the Jewish people.
Was it in spring?
Yes. Number 22. Then, upon seeing
the flood, the horse hooves did beat, the soldiers tried to escape, but the hooves broke off from the frantic galloping of his mighty ones.
Basically, the horses tried to escape, but their legs, their feet got stuck in the mud. Just like the story of the splitting of the sea. Same thing. You shall continue?
You shall curse. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
You shall curse the place of
Meroz.
Said the angel of God, curse bitterly its inhabitants, because they did not come to the help of God against the mighty men of Sisera.
Oiro Meroz. That some people say God say Meroz is a place that she cursed the place who did not come to help the Jews in this war. Other commentaries say that Meroz is a star, and from there is a proof that could be there is a star, on one of the stars there is some type of life, like a cockroach or something like this, not people, the cockroaches, some little things, nothing big.
Who is the angel of God that's speaking about here?
Could be it's Barak. Barak had another name, Michael.
So is it Malach Elohim?
Malach Hashem. No, here it says Malach Hashem. I mean, Malach Hashem is an angel. But could be that the Medrash says that Barak had a third name, Nomen Michael, named after an angel.
A third name.
Lapidos, Barak, and Michael. Okay, number 24.
Blessed among women shall Yael, the wife of Hever the Kenite, be. Blessed shall she be among the modest, righteous women in the tent. He asked for water.
What means the righteous woman in the tent? Who is known to be in the tent?
Jacob.
Sarah, Rebecca. It's written about her the tent. It's written about Rachel and Leah about tent. That she says she's more righteous. She'll be more blessed like the woman in the tent. Like all the the mothers of the matriarchs of the Jewish people. Nashim me'oel tevorach. From these women who are in the tent, on the known women, she will be more blessed from them. Tevorach min nashim yael. Go ahead.
He asked for water, and she gave him milk to make him sleepy. She brought cream in a fancy dish, so Sisera should not believe that she disrespected
cream, cheese, basically. Cheese makes you thirsty, right?
It's like drinking a cup of hot chocolate at night.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway,
she put her hand to the tent peg and her right hand to the workman's hammer, and with the hammer she struck Sisera. She struck through his head. She crushed and pierced his temple. At her feet he bent, he fell, he lay down. At her feet he bent, he fell. Where he bowed, there he fell down, bereft of life.
Right there, by this woman, the big Sisra, the big Chochem, she killed him. Because he insulted the Jewish people, God wanted to make sure that he will die a death of insult. Not just he will die, but he will be in an embarrassing way. Go ahead, the mother of Sisra.
The mother of Sisera looked out the window and cried through the lattice, "Why is his chariot so long in coming? Why do the hoofbeats of his chariots tarry?"
Deborah is describing how Sisera's mother was waiting for him. Why we don't see him yet? Where is he? What takes so long? Go ahead, you're wise.
Her wise ladies answered her. She even answered herself to comfort her. They told her, haven't they been delayed by finding booty? Have they not divided the plunder? To every man a maiden or two, to Sisera a booty of diverse colors, a plunder of multicolored needlework, dyed, double-worked garments for the necks of those who take the plunder.
This mother had a heart. The heart told her that something is wrong, but people around her convinced her, don't worry, he's having fun there with the maidens and with the money. Yeah, it's Freilach there. Oh, they're so busy, they don't have time to come home. They'll be soon.
So may all your enemies perish, O God.
Ken yovdu kol oivecha Hashem. So may perish all. Show me they lost all the enemies of you, God. Go ahead.
But those who love him should go from strength to strength, like the sun when it goes forth in its might towards the afternoon, and the land had rest for 40 years.
And the land had rest for 4 years. So all the enemies of Hashem, because if the enemies of the Jews are the enemies of Hashem, it goes together. It doesn't. You cannot separate on this two. And the Jewish people will go from strength to strength, and the land was resting for another 4 years.
So it's another 40 years.